Yo, Bo, welcome to another episode of, well, I guess this would be more of the Season of the Fan than the In the Light, but in a way this is going to be both, because I have to, of course, talk about the game today, Eagles-Rams. The Eagles are looking to go to 5-0, and I also want to talk about my Phillies, who advanced, as we all know by now, out of the wild card round, 2 straight against the Marlins. And for those of you counting at home, that's now 4-0 in wild card games for the Phillies all time. And yet again, talk about deja vu, right? Last season, the Eagles were undefeated, and the Phillies started the postseason 3-0 after winning in St. Louis 2 out of 2 and then winning in Atlanta in the first of the 5-game set, best of 5-game set, I should say. And yet again, here we are. Now, we didn't play St. Louis, but so we didn't go up against the Cardinals because they didn't make the playoffs this year. But we did play the Marlins. It was at home, and the raucous crowd, again, Citizens Bank Park, and the fans that were there, tip of the cap to all of you. Just amazing. This has become the best atmosphere in postseason baseball. It's unmatched. I know other fan bases think that they're this or that. It's just unmatched. The decibel levels, the watches with the alarms going off because it's so loud, the fans that never sit down. It's an incredible atmosphere. I was part of it last year a couple times. Unfortunately, I was at the no-hitter in the World Series, but I mean, it was just such an incredible thing to be at last year. I haven't been going this year. I don't know if I'm going to get to a game this year in the playoffs, but I'm certainly watching at home. And what I'm going to do tomorrow, the Fandemic crew, the Philly captain, you know, if it's not the whole crew, at least it's some members or what have you, a group of Philly fans go outside of Citizens Bank Park for the road games, just like they did during the pandemic when fans couldn't go into the games, and they root for the team outside the game. Outside of the stadium, they have a couple TVs in the stadium there, screens that have the game going, and outside of certain areas of the stadium, and the fans are out there. So I have never done it, and I saw the Philly captain posted a video about last night, and I'm just imagining they'll all be there again tomorrow night. So I'm going to go. I'm going to be outside the stadium with them. And to be honest, I thought about doing it last year. I didn't do it, but I definitely want to do it now. And, Tuesday is going to be interesting, but at work, it's probably going to be it could be a bit of a long night tomorrow, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. At least the game's at 6 o'clock and not at 8 o'clock or something like that. But yet again, the Phillies, just like last year, go to Atlanta. They steal a game, at least one game out of the first 2, and they win game 1. And unlike last year, they win game 1 in shutout fashion. And the Braves, as we all know, are the much heralded offense this year, one of the great offenses ever. And yet the Phillies still go there and shut them out. And it's incredible. It's one of those things that, you know, it's nice to know as a Phillies fan, for as, great a franchise as the Braves have been in all these years, winning all these division titles and playoffs and this and that. It's nice to know that the Phillies, what are we doing? We going to turn? We're not going to turn. Have space in their heads. Because the Phillies, and again, you give credit to that 93 team. And now they lost in the World Series, as we all know, in quite dramatic fashion. I won't get into that. But they they did beat Atlanta in the NLCS that year. And back then there was no wild card, so it was that one series. There was no division round. It was just the NLCS and ALCS to decide the teams to go to the World Series, which is pretty crazy you think about it today, right? But that's how it was. And the Phillies played Atlanta, who was in the West at that time. Pretty nuts. And the Phillies were able to beat them to go to the World Series, and that was one of those Braves teams that no one thought had a chance of losing. Everyone thought, oh, this ragtag bunch of Phillies, they're not going to beat them. And they did. And from that moment on, that put a bitter seed in the heads of Atlanta fans and the Braves brass and generations later, because they lost the World Series the year prior to the Blue Jays. They were looking to go back. They were looking to get back and to have revenge and everything. And the Phillies stopped them. Good old Macho Rowe got in the way. And the Braves just never forgot about that. I remember watching a documentary of the 95 Braves. Because remember, in 94, it was the strikeout shortened year. There was no World Series. So in 95, the Braves did get back to the World, and they won. And that was the only one they won out of that group of players. And MLB Network, which I don't believe they do too much of these documentaries anymore, and I think it's a shame. I really always enjoyed them. They did a documentary on the 95 Braves, and within the documentary, they brought up the 93 team and the Phillies and how that just left such a bitter taste in not only the players, but the writers, their beat writers, the fans, because there was no way they were supposed to lose that series, and they lost. And then, fast forward to last season. Again, the Phillies play the Braves in the playoffs. And again, the Phillies win, and we had some moments in that series, right? The Rhys Hoskins home run and bat spike, and the Realmuto inside the park home run, and all these different moments. And again, the Phillies beat the Braves. The Braves have not beaten the Phillies in a playoff series, and limited, opportunities, but still. And then here we go again this year, and again the Phillies win Game 1 in Atlanta, shutting out the best offense in baseball. It's that little seed of doubt, and I always say that this is so important in sports. The regular season, I'm not going to say the regular season doesn't matter. It matters. I mean, what you do, you have all these different moments, you have these things that happen, but what you do to another team in the regular season doesn't exactly mean you're going to do that to them in the playoffs. And I said going into this series, and I said the one team that's left out of every team in the playoffs after the wild cards were done, the one team that has a chance against this Atlanta team is the Phillies. Because of a few reasons. Because the Phillies, I just felt on paper, and I know that Braves lineup, but I know the Phillies lineup. Let's not undercut what the Phillies can do offensively. I said the one team that matches with them is the Phillies, because the Phillies can throw some pitchers at them. In the playoffs, yeah, you're going to have games where you score runs, but mostly it's always going to come down to pitching. And right now, Atlanta, who put their best starter out there last night and lost 3-0, their next guy, Fried, who really should be their best pitcher, but he has a blister. And they can say all they want, oh, it's healed, whatever. No, that's still going to be an issue, and you're going up against the Phillies' number one starter, Zach Wheeler, and then you have Nola, and I think it's going to come down to Aaron Nola. And if he can pitch the way he pitched last week in the closeout game against the Marlins, I think we have a very good chance of not just beating Atlanta, but winning the whole darn thing. I think if Aaron Nola pitched the way he's capable of pitching last year, as the playoffs progressed, because he started the playoffs, let's not forget, really good, and then it fell apart. But if he could stay consistent, if he could have stayed consistent, I think the Phillies could have won the whole thing last year. I just do. So I think, again, it's going to come down to Aaron Nola. If the Phillies, whether they're up 2-0 or tied in the series, when he gets his start, the first start at home, if he can pitch dominantly, I think the Phillies have a great chance, not just to beat Atlanta, but to win the whole thing. I honestly feel, and I know Houston's still doing Houston things, and these other teams like Texas and the Diamondbacks are kind of emerging, right? But I just feel whoever wins this series is going to win the whole thing. And you just get that feeling. But I just felt that the Phillies match up against Atlanta because of those reasons. I think they have an offense that can keep up with Atlanta's offense. I think the Phillies pitching, particularly their starters in the bullpen, can outdo Atlanta's pitching. But also, there's that X factor. And the X factor is we're in their head. The Phillies reside in their head because Atlanta knows that this is the one team that has been more than a pest to them in the playoffs than anyone else. More so than any other franchise in the National League. The Phillies have done it. Small sample size though it might be, I mean, you still got people last year talking to them about the 93 team. None of them were around for it. But that's how much the Phillies organization resides in Atlanta's head during the playoffs. It's amazing to me. I'm looking at how the Braves are playing this game. You know when I knew the Phillies were going to win? When Strider threw that ball away. That led to the first run. I knew right then and there, we're winning this damn thing tonight. At least game one. Because that was a moment. Here's a pitcher who's going to be Mr. Cy Young, beat the Phillies all the time in the regular season. But I said, he's rattled. They got him. He's rattled. Now, he only gave up a handful of runs, right? 2 runs, I believe, was in his chart. But when he threw that ball away, that made that error to first base, they said this is the moment. Because Atlanta is starting to do things that they're not known to be doing. They're making these mistakes that, I mean, if it's a regular season and they're not making that mistake, Strider's not throwing that ball away, but it's the playoffs. Now the lights are a little brighter. Now it's, and you can't tell me that they're not thinking about last year. The Braves played tight last night. And the reason they played tight last night is because they knew they had to win the first 2 games. Because if they allowed this thing to go to Philly, where they had so much, I mean, they had mental issues after that series, after those 2 games in Philly, as loud as the crowd was, right? They knew if they drop one of those 2 games in Atlanta, that's going to be a problem when they come here. Because these fans are already in fervor for this thing. And the fact that this thing's going to come back here tied like last year, or best case scenario 2-0, that these fans are going to be deliriously crazy in game 3 and 4. And Atlanta remembers that. And they have players that might never admit it, but they're shook because of it. They know what's coming. And the way they played last night, and them not executing in situations when they had runners, and remember, this is the best offense in the game, not just home run, but scoring offense, slug offense, all this and that. And when the big moments were there for them, they didn't come through. Now, the Phillies made some great plays, and Trey Turner with that amazing double play. But again, that's Atlanta, just something worked against them that they're not used to, and it's the playoffs now, and it's the Phillies. It's the same team. It's that team again, And there's something to be said about it. You can change personnel. You can do something different. You can bring in a new coach. You can bring in the new players, whatever the case may be. But if there's a history of losing to a certain team, it's hard to shake it. I mean, for a long time, and I know they did shake it to their credit, but the Red Sox against the Yankees for all those years, they couldn't shake it. It was that it was just in their mind, and it was in the fans' minds, and it got into the ownership's minds and the players' minds. Oh, when's the next thing that's going to go wrong? Oh, here comes the Boone home run. Here comes the this. Here comes the that. Oh, little decisions that were made here and there, and it goes wrong, and you lose, right? I know it as a Sixers fan against Boston. I can never see the Sixers beat Boston. It's like it's in their mind that they can't beat Boston. Even when they have series leads, they still find ways to lose to that team the way they did last year. When they were up 3-2 at home, they couldn't win the game of the series. So when a team is in your head, it doesn't matter what players, what happened, it's there. And I see that with this Atlanta Phillies thing. And it's not as prevalent as some of these other rivalries that, are just worldwide known, but you just see it. You see a team that's so good like Atlanta, never seems to make that big mistake, but in the playoffs against the Phillies, they make that one mistake that leads to something, and then once one thing goes wrong, it's all over. Not just because of the game, but because of who they're playing. And believe me, as a Phillies fan, I love that. For me to say that the Phillies are in the head of another team, I've seen a lot of losing years as a Phillies fan with this team. Prior to last season, it was 10, 11 years, however long before making the playoffs, before the 07 to 2011 run. It was from the freaking Joe Carter home run in Game 6 to 2007 without making the playoffs. So you see this team having year after year after year of not competitive, not losing, whatever. But now we're getting into a time where the team is starting to rise back up, and they're getting better. They're getting more, obviously they haven't won the division, but they get to the playoffs and they make the most of their opportunity when they get there. Again, it's one game, and I'm not saying the series is over, this is it, but I feel good about it because I think the Phillies do match up well against Atlanta. I think they can pitch to that lineup. I think that our lineup can hit their pitching enough to win games. And the biggest X factor, like I said, is that the Phillies are in their head. And these fans are in their head. They know what they're walking into when they go to Game 3. And they're not looking forward to it. They are not looking forward to Game 3. They can be professional all they want. They're adults. They're okay. We're both MVP and Acuna, probably the Cy Young and Strider, this, that, whatever. They do not look forward to Game 3 in this ballpark. I'm looking at that ballpark last night, and Braves fans have seen a lot of winning. They saw a World Series not long ago. They win a lot. But my God, when I'm watching this game, and it's a low-scoring game. It's anyone's game. The Braves had runners on the corners. You had, and of course, I can only see the view from behind the plate. You had some fans standing up. You had some fans sitting down. The noise level wasn't there. If that's here, every fan in the entire stadium is up, cheering, trying to get to the pitcher, trying to distract the pitcher. It's a different situation here, and the rally towels are going like crazy. In Atlanta, it was like, runners at the corners, yeah, we're excited, but we're also nervous. We're nervous. We don't know. It was just a different atmosphere. I know that. Listen, you can say whatever. Atlanta has never been a great sports town. It's never going to be. It's a different animal there, and I get that. Here, it's more of a pro sports town than it is it's a great college town, but the pro teams are always the biggest on the docket, right? It's not quite like that in Atlanta. Atlanta is more of a college town. They like other things. They like their NASCAR. They like their golf. Yeah, I mean, the Braves are always good. The Falcons, they like that. But I mean, they're, I don't know. I've always looked at their fan base and kind of, I'm not trying to say this a certain way, but I've always looked at their fan base and said, I'm not that worried about them. If it comes down to a final game of a series, I don't think the fans are going to make the difference. I think the teams will in that regard. Whereas here, if it's a final game, I think the fans can make a difference. And we've seen it. We saw it last year, you know. So I you know what? Again, I am happy to be in a situation like this with the Phillies playing as well as they have, with the Eagles playing as well as they have, because I certainly know the other way. And we know in this town, you have to go through a lot. You get kicked in the gut a lot. You get kicked in the groin a lot with these teams. They have a way of doing it. I know even last year we got there. I mean, the rides were incredible. I mean, we went from the World Series to having a run to the Super Bowl, and that's rare. That doesn't happen, you know, very often in a lot of towns, not just here. I know Boston had their time. I'm glad that's over. I'm glad that that's done with. But it doesn't happen that often, right? You have a few cities where maybe they'll have times like that, but for the most part, it's different cities, different teams. So that was great, but it made it great because we know too well the other side of it. We know about the losing. We know about the losing seasons, not making the playoffs, or being having playoff disappointments. You know, and honestly, I know it's hard to say this, but even losing the World Series last year, it was tough. But I also felt a lot of sense of pride and hope for the future for the team, but also the pride that, look, we didn't expect this. I mean, like I said, I wanted to dip the toes in the playoffs. I did not expect them to go to the World Series last year, and they did. So I was thankful for that run. I would have loved to have won it, absolutely. When we got there, yeah, you don't think about, well, I mean, this was unexpected. You think about, oh, what can we do to win? But at the same time, I just felt more of a sense of pride. Like, hey, this team made a hell of a run. They gave me a lot of great moments. I was at games, playoff games. It was a tremendous run and a tremendous ride with a lot of memories that I'll always have, you know. And the Eagles lost the Super Bowl. I think that was a bit more disappointing, not you know, because of how it kind of shook down. And you had a penalty call at the end that, all right, by letter of the law maybe, but do you call it in that point? Has a Super Bowl has a call ever been made at that point in the game? No. So I think that's what made it. I was more disappointment because of, yeah, the Eagles lost, but it's just how it ended. You know, I felt like, I really felt like we all, not just Eagle fans, but all football fans missed out on a great opportunity at what could have been a tremendous finish with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense with the ball with a little over a minute to go, trailing by a couple points, and still have a chance instead of the penalty flag because Pat Mahomes had the point. Oh, look. I don't know. But, you know, but I still feel privileged to have been on that kind of run. And I know that the Eagles are, you know, I mean, nothing's given, but I still know that they're still going to be a pretty good team. They're going to have a chance again, you know. Same as the Phillies. I felt really good about where they were, and they have some young, you know, cornerstone franchise guys, not just the Harpers and the Realmutos and the Castellanos and the Schwarbers, but, you know, they had some young building block type players like a Bohm and a Stott. And, you know, you bring Marsh in from the Angels. I mean, you know, they have some good young players. And then they built to that this year. They added more from their farm system. And, of course, they go out and they get Trey Turner, who the Philly captain fixed. I know everyone's the Jack Fritz thing, it was the Philly captain. I know Fritz is taking a lot of the credit. Philly captain's the one that really started initiating that. Fritz kind of jumped on, and he's the one that gets the credit because he's on the radio. But, you know, it is what it is. I stand with the Philly captain. But no, I can't tell you how pleased I am to see the team playing the way they are now, because many, many more times than this we've had it the other way. You know, just get seasons that ended badly. You know, the Kapler years where they just fell apart in September, and just I mean, it was tough. It was like, it was like yet another disappointment. Yeah, here it comes again. And then finally they put it together last year, and to their credit they did, and they made the most of it. And now you see them again. And I love the fact, people say, oh, you shouldn't do that. I love the fact that everyone thinks Castellanos flipped off. It was his ring finger he was showing. I love that. You know why? Because this is why we're here, to win. And the fact that Castellanos, after getting a big hit, did that, showed the ring finger, that said everything to me about where this team is right now. And look, you have to win it. No doubt about it. You can make all the gestures and mannerisms you want. You have to win it. But the fact that there's singular purpose, that they know they're in the playoffs, they had their fun run last year, unexpected, whatever, but it's more like a business-like, purposeful meaning for them to be there this year. And Castellanos putting his ring finger up, saying, this is why we're here. This is what we're here for. I think it just says a lot. I think it says a lot about their confidence in one another. And I think it says a lot about, listen, they were through a lot last year in that playoffs. They know now what it takes to win the whole thing. They know how hard it is. And you have to be ready for any moment. And I think there was a lot of learning that went on last year. And I think they're just ready. I think that just makes them that much more prepared and ready for the run this year. I think that's why you go to Atlanta, you win 3-0 in basically a bullpen game. Because there's that trust in the players. There's trust in one another. We got your back. You got our back, They know what this ballpark is now. They know how crazy the fans are at the ballpark. Other teams know that now. And I think that goes a lot into, this postseason run too. It's a special time, I think, right now to be a Phillies fan. And I couldn't have said that years ago. But I feel firm and confident in saying it now. And to be honest, I'd rather be a wild card team every year. And I do have a feeling that they're going to try to tweak it. This team has 5 days off. They're probably going to try to find a way to tweak it. Maybe if it's adding, I'd hate to say adding a couple more teams, but whatever it is, maybe there's no buys or what have you. I don't know. I'm one of those that believes if you win, you win, you lose, you lose. I'm not looking at any excuses. You're still playing the game. I know it's different if, if you're a team that's sitting while another team's playing, but in other sports they do that. It doesn't seem to bother, the teams as much. I know baseball is a rhythm sport. I get that. And when you kind of get out of your rhythm, things can happen. But at the same point, it hasn't affected Houston. I mean, Houston has had buys. They won a World Series last year. They won a game yesterday. It hasn't affected them. The Dodgers lost. The Braves lost. The Orioles lost. But I mean, look. I mean, they were close games. Could have gone either way. The Dodgers game maybe not, but the other two, it could have gone either way. But they're always going to look to tweak things. Why? Because some of these owners the owners, they run the league. The players run the league. The owners run the league. That's where the money. So the owners are going to complain. The Dodgers owners are going to complain probably if they lose to the Diamondbacks. The Braves owner probably, this is 2 years in a row, blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't know, Atlanta. Maybe if you don't win a division one year, and maybe go in as a wild card next year. But as a Phillies fan, I don't want to win the division. What does that mean? I mean, Atlanta has all those flags for every year they've won the division. It's an accomplishment, I get that. But they have 2 World Series. All those years they won the division, every division title known to man, they have 2 World Series in all those years. So as a Phillies fan, it's nice. It's like I said before, it's window dressing. That's what it is. You get a banner. All right, I want the World Series champion banner. Same for the Eagles. The Eagles can win the NFC East. All right, that's wonderful. I've seen them win NFC East titles. I want a Super Bowl. I want another Lombardi. I want another Super Bowl championship banner. I want other Super Bowl championship banners after that. Same with the Phillies. I don't need division championships. You know, you win the National League, and you win the World Series. Those are the ones that are going to mean the most to me. So, like I said, it's window dressing. That's what it is. The Braves can be proud of all these different division titles, all these banners. That's all right. That's fun. What happened in the playoff? Where'd you go? All those banners didn't help you then. So, I tell you, it is, because I know the other side of it. I know what it is to lose and to have those years. Even last year, losing in the World Series. So I appreciate this team. And I wrote on Facebook earlier in the week, I said that this group of Phillies players, this team, more has a very good chance to be one of my all-time favorite Philadelphia teams. Obviously, the grouping, I mean, as a whole, the 07 to 2011 team, that will always have a big spot. They won a World Series, so obviously that was my first championship, right? You know, the Eagles, obviously, I mean, the team that won Super Bowl 52, that's always going to be right at the top. But as a collective unit, it would be hard to rival them. The guy like a Kelsey and a Graham and a Cox and a Lane Johnson, all those guys were a big part of this great era of Eagles football. Even the Reed eras, right? Because that was the first real success I saw with the team. So obviously they're going to be up there. You know, Iverson, that 01 Sixers team, the 93 Phillies, the 2010 Flyers. I mean, there's some teams that are always going to be kind of up there for me. But I think this group as a collective unit, with all those players, with Topper, with, how they're constructed, I just think that this is going to be one of those teams. And they have to win. They have to win at least one. But how they play, how they conduct their business, that's the type of team you really want to have. They're blue collar, they're workmanlike, they're perfect for this city. And that's what you want to have. I think this current Eagles team could be that too. I really do. They could go down as one of the great, Philadelphia teams as well. We talk about fandom, right? I talked about the, Atlanta fans or what have you. Listen, I know, Lord knows I do get kind of crazy with these teams. I mean, listen, it's how I've always been. That's just how I'm wired. I enjoy, being a fan. I do feel that you have a lot of, let's say battle wounds, from all those years of losing, and it's because of those years. That's why we get so pumped up for years like we had last year, this year, when the Eagles won, because we know the other side of it all too well. Most times we're disappointed in this town. Most times our teams find ways of letting us down. I mean, look no further than the Sixers. They seem to do it every year. There's drama every year with that team, and then they can't get out of the second round every year, and it's just. But I'll tell you what, if the Sixers finds their way to a finals and win a finals one year, I'm going to appreciate it because of all the crap I've had to go through all these other years. And it goes back, not just this grouping of Sixers, but to the process years, to the Iverson years where they should have won more, where they should have gotten more players around them, right? Never did. Got to one finals, and that was such a great run, but should have done more with him, right? It just never did. All those years, I hate to say the name Sean Bradley, but the Sean Bradley, Sharon Wright here, we've seen a lot over these years. This fan base has been through so much. So if the Sixers finally ever can put it together and get out of the damn second round and win, and get to another finals and win a finals, it would mean so much because we know the other side of it too much. We know the other side of it. Losing to Boston all the time, losing to Atlanta, losing to Toronto and a quadruple doink by Kawhi Leonard, losing to this team and that team, right? Just never fulfilling it, That's why we appreciate when the times are going well, when the Phillies are winning, when the Eagles are winning, and even then the Sixers and Flyers, right? These teams are winning. We get geared up for it more because we've been drug in the dirt so long. So when we win, we're going to let people know because we've had it the other way for too long. And I know for me, I'm certainly one of those that wears my fandom on my sleeve. I always have. Listen, friendships have ended because of it. It's probably one of the reasons I'm still single. I'm 45 years, I'm still single. And I know that that's probably part of the reason, but I gotta be me. But, my dad once told my mom about me with collecting, this is how he's wired. This is just how I'm wired. I can't be anything else but me. And yeah, I get a certain way. Lord knows some of you know this in some instances in the not so long past, where I call it hide, and hide comes out, and I get upset, and things are said, and I feel bad about it later, but that's just me. I'm a fan. I'm proud of where I live. I'm proud of the teams. Even though they kick me in the gut a lot, I'm still proud of saying that this is who I am. These are my teams. This is where I live. And it just feels like it's part of me. So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm in a car right now driving to my dad's, and I'm talking to you on YouTube about sports, about Philly sports, because this is what's in my heart. You can't take that away. And I know I get a little crazy. It happens. I can't, but that's me. I can't just not be me. And if I offend people, I apologize, but this is me. I'm not going to be something that I'm not. And when we're making these kind of runs, it's very exciting for me, and I'm very appreciative of it because I know the other side of it too long. I know the other side of it way too much. It's like we're about to start a new hockey season. I have no expectations at all. I'm just going to try to enjoy it. I know the Flyers aren't going to be a Stanley Cup team this year. I'm not expecting it. No one is. I'm not expecting. Honestly, I don't even want them to make the playoffs because they're still in rebuilding mode. I want them to rebuild. I'm glad they're finally on that page. It would be a little disappointing to me if they make the playoffs. I'll admit it. I know it would give the young players playoff experience and whatever. But you make the playoffs. Why? So you get drubbed by the Bruins in the first round, or New Jersey or New York or one of those teams? No, I want to build, man. I'm not expecting to make the playoffs, but I'm not expecting a top 3 pick. I don't think the Flyers will be bad enough for that, but I don't think they'll be good enough to make the playoffs, and I'm okay with it. I'd rather them have the pick, to be honest. I want that pick, even if it's a top 10 pick. All right, it's another piece to build with. They're not ready to win yet, and some of these veteran players are probably going to be going at the trade deadline. I'm okay with it. I like the direction you're going in. Plus, I can get tickets cheap on StubHub. That's still fun. For the Eagles, I mean, listen, I just think it's funny. They're 4-0, and fans are complaining, and that's what I love about this fan base, boy. Because we want things a certain way. Are we going to remember, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year, are we going to remember, but that Washington game, that got close? No. But you remember it in the moment. I'm glad they won the game. Look, it was a crazy, weird game. People were saying, well, look, Washington, look, they got drubbed by the Bears. It's a week-to-week league. You have to put all these things in perspective. Washington played that game on a short week. They used up a lot against the Eagles. I mean, they were going to have a game like that. You know, they're not as good a team, Washington. And I know the Eagles should have beaten them. It's a week-to-week thing. And like I said before, right, what did I say? The Eagles are a team with a target on their back because they won the NFC title last year. They're one of the best teams in the league. So when teams play them, you're going to get more times than not their A game because they want to measure themselves against a team like the Eagles. So we're always going to get that team's best, unless it's like the end of the year and teams are just playing out the string, and okay, things happen. But from now until that point, you're going to get every team's best shot. And that's just what it is. Look, the Eagles, I thought, a few weeks ago when they beat Tampa, I thought it was a dominant win. And people were going, because they didn't score in the red zone enough. But I look at what they did to that Bucs offense, which, by the way, the other three games, the Bucs have won. The only loss they have is to the Eagles at home, which was kind of like a home game for the Eagles. But still, it was it's the worst that offense has looked all year. So you got to give credit where it's due. Look, the Eagles have things to work on, but I believe they will work on these things. I don't think that. Look, this is a team that's looking to win that Super Bowl. This is a team, that's their goal. That is their singular mission in life, is to win the Super Bowl, right? And people are still making a big thing about the tush push or the city of brotherly shove. I just think the whole thing's ridiculous. To me, it's, look, that any team in the league could run this play. Just because the Eagles are better at it than other teams in the league, because the Eagles have a superior offensive line with superior offensive line coaching, and they have a quarterback that squats 600 pounds and is tough. Just because they can do it better than, say, the Giants or some of these other teams, they want to outlaw? Are you kidding me? There was this highlight package put on, I don't even know what it's called. It used to be Twitter, now it's X. I don't know if it's Twitter X or whatever the hell it is now. They showed Tom Brady. Different highlights of the Patriots basically running the same play and Tom Brady having success first. Why? Because the Patriots had a really good offensive line, and Tom Brady throughout his whole career was a very good quarterback sneak type of quarterback. He just always was good at it. It was basically the same play, and back then no one made a deal about it. No one could stop it. But they didn't have this big, we're going to launch investigations over this. No, they must be doing something. No. Any team in all of football, this is a play that could be run in any form of football throughout football. You see it in college football. You see it in NFL football. Any team can do it. This is not just a play that the Eagles and the Eagles alone can run. It's a quarterback sneak. Yeah, it's the formation of it, but other teams try the formation of it, and guess what? They're just not as good at it as the Eagles are. That's just what it is, and that's where the jelly starts coming in. That's where it's like, they must be doing something. Oh, that team. It's like I said the last time, the Chiefs can line up in any formation they want, and people are just going to laugh at it and say, that's just Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid being them. Look at how clever they are with the ring around the rosy play and this and that. But the Eagles do something, oh my God. Nope, that can't happen. Go away. It's like in baseball, man. It's like, I am so glad that the running game is back in baseball. That now, there's more availability to steal bags. That was always part of the game. When I was younger, watching the Phillies, back then they were the Florida Marlins. They had Juan Pierre and Luis Castillo at the top of their lineup. And those two guys were so good at stealing bags. So you knew any time Juan Pierre or Luis Castillo or both of them would get on base, you knew, now here's a problem, because now you got good base runners, smart base runners, and very good base stealers. That's why that team had the success that they had offensively those years, because they had those two guys at the top of the order. And they would get on and they would wreak havoc on the bases. So what happened, right? Because the Marlins are doing this, now we got to take base running away. No, the league didn't say that. Look, you got to pitch to them better. It's your fault. you're going to let them get on base. That's what's going to happen. Maybe your catcher should be better at throwing them out. I don't know. I'm just saying. They didn't take the play away because the Marlins were good at it. The same thing with the Eagles. Well, maybe you should try to find ways of stopping it. Oh, you can't? Oh, well, that's not the only reason why the Eagles are winning games. When the Eagles run that play, like 2 or 3 times a game, if that? What about all those other plays that got to those situations? What about the defense taking the ball away in certain situations? What if, the Eagles' special teams have been making some plays? Oh, the Eagles are just winning games because of the tush push. No, they're winning games because they're a good team. This is what good teams do. When they find something they're good at, they do it. They're not winning games because they're having this one play on third or fourth and short. They're winning because of everything else. Now, does that extend some drives? Sure. Is it their fault? No, they're just good at it. Deal with it. My God. Again, I'm telling you, it's on X. It's Tom Brady throughout his career running the same play the Eagles are doing, and the Patriots had success, and no one said bupkis about it. I didn't want to make this conversation about that, but that just entered the mind, and I'm like, this is just getting ridiculous anymore. I got frustrated. See, this is what happens. I'm at my dad's. So, listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to do these videos. To those who know me and whatever, I know you put up with a lot with me, with my fandom for these teams, but I have the passion for it. I love them. I'm a fan. Fan's short for fanatic. Some people show it a little more, and I'm just one of them. I'm one of the crazies, okay? So, but I think the Eagles have a good chance to go to 5-0. I know I didn't really talk about the game today. I think they have a really good chance to go to 5-0, to win in LA against the Rams, come back 5-0, and I mean, deja vu all over again, right? The Eagles are undefeated, and the Phillies are making a playoff run. Unbelievable. Here we are, same time next year. So we'll see. How long is the undefeated deal going to go? We'll see. I mean, hopefully they can win today. I think it'll be a tough game, but I think they have a very good chance of winning. I know they're dealing with some injuries, but I do think they have a good chance of winning the game and going to 5-0. And I think the Phillies set themselves up beautifully last night to win the series. I'm not saying it's over. Atlanta's a very good team. They have a lot of talent on that team, and those guys are really going to want this thing. But I think that it's like I just think the Phillies match up with them, and I think that X factor of what happened last year, and even a little bit the dust from '93, I think is still seeked in there a little bit. It's in the Atlanta minds. They're gonna there's going to be a lot of nervous chops going on tomorrow night in Atlanta, particularly if if the Phillies get off to a quick start. Oh boy, it could really be interesting then. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching as always. Keep hitting the thumbs up. Keep that like button going. You want to also make sure that you sub to me if you haven't already done so. Hit the bell icon and vote for me, for yours truly. I'm one of the 4 finalists for the Lids Ultimate Jersey Collector competition. I know I've been promoting this on Instagram. I'm promoting it on my channel here. I will put up a link temporarily. The voting is from now until October 13th, so Friday the 13th. You can vote once a day, and I'd appreciate all the votes that I can get. I know one of the guys I'm competing against is one of those big social media guys. He gets thousands and thousands of views on his stuff, so it's going to be tough. But in Philly, we like being the underdog. I might be the underdog here, but I'm embracing it, and I'm asking for all of your help. You can vote again for me once a day, every day from now until the 13th. I'm going to have a link to the voting in the description for this video. So make sure that you click it and give me that vote once a day, every day from now until October 13th, Friday the 13th, Jason Day, Friday the 13th, for the Lids Ultimate Jersey Collector. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for watching. Let's go Birds. Let's go Phillies. And I will see you in the next one. Maybe I'll do some filming tomorrow night from outside CBP with the Philly captain and company there and the Pandemic crew. And so looking forward to that. First time doing it, so looking forward to it. I will see you all then. Take care.